Have you ever heard of this game called The Lethal Company? It's only the latest horror craze that's plagued my Twitter timeline for the last 4 weeks, and if there is one thing I understood from the screams of horror, it's that Lethal Company is definitely a game of all time.
I want to do a bit and then step on a landmine. I'm looking for my parents.
That was pretty funny. So my friends asked me to download it, to which I asked, is it free? To which they said, no, it's $10. Oh. The story could have just ended right there because I'm already broke as dirt. But then I saw this clip. And this clip.
Fuck you, Zeus!
And this one. And at that point, I knew I had no choice but to put myself further into debt for the sake of gaming. At first, I was a little concerned by the blurry textures, but after a little bit of getting used to, it looks like garbage in the most charming way possible. Oh, a cold one! Let's fucking go! And the game is so simple, even a skibbity toilet iPad kid could understand. This is on purpose because the developer used to make Roblox games, so they just get the vibes. But after your first game, you're probably still sitting there thinking, is this all there really is? This is the game with over 200,000 reviews that are described as overwhelmingly positive, and it's this basic? Oh my sweet young Thomas. That's the beauty of it. Whoa! Today I'm going to tell you what makes Lethal Company so special that even old Uncle Bill loves it. He hasn't been in love with much since the divorce. It's been quite hard on him. It's good to see him finally happy for a change. Wait, Uncle Bill, don't spam the bell, no! You probably understand a little bit about how the game works by now, but trust me, it's not as easy as you think when you're constantly being reminded about how fragile your life really is. You are an employee of the company. The Lethal Company! No, it's a joke. They're literally just called the company. You are tasked with finding valuable items on different moons, such as a piece of sheet metal or a big bolt. And these items are then sold to meet a quota. Each subsequent quota gets higher after each previous quota is reached. Easy, right?
No. Gary, how'd you die?
The environment will kill you on a whim, and the longer your greed keeps you on a planet, the stronger the residing monsters become. Open the door! Your life is worth closer to nothing than anything else in the game. They literally tell you how much value your body holds, and it is markedly less than a piece of sheet metal. You are simply cannon fodder, trying not to piss off your superior. You are basically an Amazon warehouse worker. Your entire life revolves around finding junk to barter for your life with a demon in your walls, and they do not tolerate impatience or loud noises.
Your handwork is invaluable to the company.
You know what's invaluable to the company? My fucking balls, bitch. My fucking balls are invaluable to the company.
You remember the memes in early 2010 that were like, life comes at you fast? Because that kind of perfectly encapsulates this game. In my very first run, 2 of my crewmates immediately fell to their death, so we had to leave early. I learned absolutely nothing, and I think the game heard me talking shit because the next expedition I went on was met with almost every single enemy in the game on the easiest map to start out with. Luckily, we found out that most monsters can't kill you if you stand on these railings. This no longer works, but that didn't stop us from getting slaughtered immediately after anyway. No. He's coming to you. Uh-oh. This is unbelievably fucked up, because even in all of my runs after this, I have not seen so many enemies come out this early. It's almost like the game was setting me up. When you're new to a game, you obviously have no idea what you're doing, but here, you are given no time to understand anything, so you just have to keep dying and try again. Reminiscent of Dark Souls, except you have literally no way to fight back. While I was figuring out what items explode during thunderstorms, I instead discovered why you shouldn't talk so much when it's dark outside, and we realized why the items were sparking just a little too late. Turrets lined up and down the hallways give the impression that those who inhabited these planets were staging a last-ditch effort to try and fight back against the monsters inside the building. It's no wonder every planet you visit is abandoned.
You are not able to destroy those, by the way.
Not long after, I played my last run in the vanilla game. It's not because the game was getting stale or anything, but I had so many friends who desperately wanted to play this game that we had to download a mod pack to get around the 4-player limit. What other mods did I have, you may ask? There's like hats and cosmetics now, which are kind of funny. This was all unfortunately recorded before people made mods that add stuff like new dances and a TV for Drake and Josh.
Drake and Josh? Oh my...
I think the only mod we had that changed any of the core gameplay aspects was removing the stamina meter, which admittedly makes the game significantly easier, but we're all so bad and stupid I promise that this made little to no difference on how far we got in our runs.
I jumped off.
You don't know pure chaos until you experience this game with a group of 7 or more people. The game was very obviously not meant to be played this way so early in development, but it still actually functions perfectly fine. I have not experienced any bugs with this game even with all these mods installed. Yet when I play a $70 AAA title that was created by 3 different fully staffed studios, I can't even get 30 FPS in the menu because it's the most convoluted fucking mess I've ever laid my eyes upon. Meanwhile, one Roblox dev is able to create a damn near flawless game in early access. If we clone this guy 400 times and asked him to create a new Call of Duty, he might actually be able to make make a game that doesn't suck complete ass. Anyway, you may think a 7-person crew would make the game trivial. In most cases, having more people working a shift would make every task a little easier, but believe it or not, when everyone is trying to kill each other for content, it actually makes your job a little harder. On the bright side though, this taught me about the mechanics and monsters much quicker, because with all these people, you're gonna be less scared to run inside knowing you're not gonna be the reason everyone lost. That doesn't mean it stopped being scary, it just made me more brave. The game tends to punish people for getting too ahead of themselves. You know, Icarus flying too close to the sun and whatnot.
Oh, I gotta give this motherfucker.
Having more players who don't care as much about dying will unfortunately make them start doing shit like this to you. Half the time I feel like I'm watching a sitcom about a group of friends who randomly applied to a job on Indeed and they're just trying to figure it out as they go along. But if you don't see the charm in the game yet, let me just explain it to you.
Carrie's dead.
Straddling the line between genuinely scared and laughing so hard your stomach hurts is a seriously difficult balance to manage for a horror game, but Lethal Company does it so effortlessly.
$2,000 a month in LA.
It's like Phasmophobia on crack, which funnily enough is a game that the Lethal Company dev tried giving advice to before proving that he was right. Being trapped in cramped, eerie hallways is always unnerving, and the sound design of the game is beyond impressive. While the game does give a ton of room for teamwork, the best thing I discovered was what happens when you drop a ladder on someone's head. Once I found out that the ladder makes this noise when it hits someone, I literally waited outside exits for the entire game trying to surprise someone with it. But I kept getting teleported back because the guys inside the ship thought I was dead, but that didn't stop me from pursuing this mission. From inside the ship, you can spectate everyone as they're inside the building, and you can access a terminal to open and close doors to scare your crew, or temporarily shut down turrets, which is about as useful as it sounds. This computer adds a completely new dimension of the game where you can set roles like the garbage collectors and the pussies who sit back inside the ship and do nothing except teleport your lifeless corpse once your neck gets snapped by the flower man. Personally, I hate fighting for my life against the dogs outside though. So you know what? If that makes me a pussy, then so be it, because if anything, you're an idiot for risking your life so easily. That kind of arrogance pisses me off so bad. A completely made up scenario I just created in my head about someone who doesn't exist making fun of me for something I don't actually do makes me fucking sick, man. Putting items in the game like the masks, then giving them obscure names like comedy and tragedy, because the dev knows that just like the air horn, everyone is gonna pick that shit up and try to use it. It gets even better when you learn that it doesn't just outright kill you, it also turns you into a masked creature that spreads the mask like a virus, so that you feel extra guilty about putting your entire crew in danger for a 5-second joke that wouldn't have even been that funny in the first place. I'm sure there are still some of you who are saying, that's cool and all, but I don't understand the hyper appeal around it. And that's fine. You know, some people just aren't into certain types of games, and that's okay.
Bro, you ugly as shit.
But I better not hear any of you saying that this looks like a kid's game though, because I'd hate to break it to you, pal, but these real games like Counter-Strike, Valorant, League of Legends, or Call of Duty are all being played by either a bunch of 14-year-olds or a bunch of 26-year-olds who wish they were 14 again. Speaking of Call of Duty, I'm not sure if many of you have heard about it, but it's a small series made by indie studio Activision Blizzard, and they've released a new title this year called Modern Warfare 3, and it's actually performing pretty well right now, and I'm gonna stop doing this joke because you obviously know what Call of Duty is. COD has been around for actual generations at this point. I still look back fondly on the days of playing Black Ops 1 as a kid and getting absolutely horrified because I accidentally clicked on zombies in the menu and the music started bumping a little too hard with the crackhead in the window trying to break into my torture chamber. I promise this video is still about Lethal Company, just hang with me for a second. Sometimes I'll think about my time playing absolutely useless modes like Wager to start my gambling addiction young, picking up guns that have a tiger camo and a blue smiley face as a red dot for no reason, never getting past round 30 because I ran out of ammo in my thunder gun before downing myself with the ray gun. These are still core memories that I have permanently etched into my brain, and nearly every gamer has some vivid memory of playing Call of Duty sometime in their life. I remember getting unreasonably excited about the launch of the original Modern Warfare 3 and Black Ops 2. It really felt like new games being announced meant something more back then. Aside from the obvious difference that I am no longer a whimsical little child with an infinite amount of time on my hands and nothing to stress about besides losing my 30,000 COD points in High Roller, one of the chamber, the only game I'm truly excited for right now is GTA 6. So what really changed? Well, Call of Duty at this point knew that they were definitely able to rake in tons of profit with this franchise if they just kept pumping shit out. Like the DLC for Black Ops 1 are still $15 each on Steam, and I have never seen them go down on sale, which is criminal. However, the games back then just felt like they had more love and care put into them. Even if there are camos in the game that cost real money and look like straight doo-doo. I remember buying the zombies camo thinking it was gonna be the Pack-a-Punch skin but in multiplayer, and I was gonna cry when I found out that it was a bunch of zombies drawn on my gun. I mean, look at this shit, it's disgusting, and they charged money for this. When I look back on gaming at the time, it was less about needing a reason to play and more that it was just fun. There's tons of stuff to do in those games, but it was more of a pleasure than a chore like it is now, and that may be because I'm not a kid anymore. I will often feel like I need a purpose to play games, and and justify spending my time on them, but I know that if a game is genuinely enjoyable, I can look past all that and have a good time. When I play Call of Duty today, it's almost hard to enjoy the game when the devs treat me like a wallet they can keep trying to pick at for even more profit. Activision actively abuses nostalgia marketing to try and sell you their copy and pasted piece of trash, and it works every year. They started reusing the exact same titles as their most infamous series, even though they are not even remotely close to the same. And then the maps are also just copy and pasted from those games to make you feel like you actually got a product that's worth buying, even though half of the maps don't even play the same because of how different the game is now compared to back then. Being bombarded with a reminder to get the battle pass every time I open the game on my horribly optimized 25 FPS menu screen is a constant reminder that they do not care about the player experience at all. And even if you decide you want to buy it, they cover 80% of your screen with the more expensive battle pass, while the cheaper, normal battle pass is just slotted off to the side where you can't find it because they're hoping that you accidentally give them more money. Seeing these slimy and manipulative marketing strategies being used by a game that I already paid $70 for feels incredibly disingenuous, and it makes it even harder for me to ignore the fact that the game itself honestly fucking sucks. But what does any of this have to do with Lethal Company is what you're probably saying. The point I'm trying to get at is that games nowadays just feel like they don't care about you, and a large majority of the time, that's because they truly don't. Grinding camos back in the earlier days of COD used to feel rewarding because it was challenging. Now you can complete the camo challenge on a gun in 30 minutes because they know that the more hits of dopamine you get, the more you're gonna keep playing. They give you a ton of shit to do, and it doesn't even feel like a challenge anymore because it feels like tedious work. When everything starts meaning something, you almost start wishing it still meant nothing. How could a game where the core gameplay mechanic is literally making the player do chores possibly outsell a globally recognized title with over 3,000 more people working on it? It's simply that Zeekers, the game developer, actually cares about game development. He cares about pushing out a product that people are going to enjoy first and profit comes second. And it's very apparent that he's more than just a little passionate about it. The kid is 21 and he started making games on Roblox over 10 years ago. Whenever I hop off Call of Duty for the night, I feel a sense of post-COD clarity that's like, what am I doing with myself? Lethal Company, on the other hand, makes me appreciate the time that I'm spending with my friends, and I can go to bed happy. Zeekers understands the community and what people would enjoy playing because it's probably something he'd also enjoy playing. Most gamers are kind of tired of being looked at like a canvas sack with a $ written on it, and the CEOs of giant corporations hear a cartoonish cash register noise when they imagine what their players look like. It's refreshing to play a game that isn't so heavily monetized that it's impossible to ignore. People just want something that's fun and well thought out, even if it's incredibly simple. Lethal Company does not have a very fascinating XP system. You get a badge and that's it. The gameplay is the driving force behind why players are so obsessed with it, and you are just finding scrap while running from monsters.
You piece of shit, Spider!
I don't think there's much spillover from Call of Duty players to Lethal Company, but the fact that a game can perform so astronomically well just off putting love into it shows that if you're not shoving microtransactions in people's faces every 40 seconds while making your product accessible to anyone, people might actually want to play your fucking game.
Guys, I am invincible.
Oh,
I was
you're
inside
invincible.
that entire time.
Okay, for all the praise I'm giving this game, it's absolutely not flawless by any means, but you can't honestly be too harsh about it considering, again, a 21-year-old made it by himself and it's still in early alpha. It's a really good game for the price, and you'd be supporting a young kid in his dreams instead of a mega multi-billion-dollar corporation who hates you if you don't buy the $20 Nicki Minaj bundle. Most of the negative reviews about Lethal Company are by the hyper-intelligent comedians who all seem to meme the fact that Zeekers is a furry at every given opportunity. Like, I get that it's a silly fact the guy who made this amazing game is our persona, but there's this popular expression about beating a dead horse, and in this case, the horse had a bomb dropped on it and the people danced on top of the pit it left behind. I swear to God, all I ever hear about this guy is that people are disappointed to hear that he's a furry. Making a negative review as a joke would normally be a bad thing for small devs, but the reception has been so staggeringly positive for this game, it's actively ratioing the review section. I am super confident that the negative reviews have not affected the sales whatsoever. A lot of the genuine criticism is valid though. Lack of content and variety since every moon is fundamentally the same on the inside. And I'd imagine the game is incredibly depressing to play alone, but you could join other players' lobbies if that's a problem you're having, you know? While I think these are all true, once again we have to recognize that one guy is making the game and it's in early access. As much as I'd want to see more content come out for this game, I cannot imagine the stress and pressure this guy is feeling. The sheer scale of his game's success is unheard of for someone his age. But I am assuming how this guy feels scenarios here, so let's just imagine you're in his position instead. Success is not usually a straight shot upward, and I know Zeekers is well aware of this. It took him years and years of making games that may not be the greatest before a few start really taking off. But when you finally get there, the attention you're receiving is incredibly overwhelming. You are getting all of this amazing support from people who want to see more from you, and you don't want to let them down. So you desperately start focusing on not putting out something that people would see as a downgrade in quality. But as more and more people start enjoying your content, you almost feel like it's an obligation to push stuff out faster for them. So now you're in this battle with yourself about needing to do something now and needing to take time so that it comes out the way you want. It can be easy to get lost in your own head at this point, so it's important to just relax while you're thinking of a way to find that balance between not everything has to be perfect and I can't do a million things every day. Zeekers seems to be handling himself pretty well. He put out an update on January 8th saying that he's been taking a break and catching up on some other activities, which is great, but maybe I am too concerned with the well-being of this man I know nothing about.
You know, I'm something of an empath myself.
A little off topic, but I feel almost as though there are more people who are the opposite of parasocial. Like, they aren't worried about anyone they don't know, and like, they genuinely don't care about others even if they're a little successful. Like some sort of online sociopathy. Like, I understand that being online can be extremely exhausting if you're constantly worrying about the health and condition of other people. Hell, I think that most people don't consider how drastically the media they consume can affect the way they feel mentally. But I just don't think it's gotta be so black and white where you either care about everyone or nobody at all. Anyway, I'm kind of just yapping now, but the point I'm trying to make is that great things take time, and I think you would prefer having more less often than less more often. I'm gonna give Lethal Company an 8.2 out of 10 potato cats. But since that fucking dev is a furry, I'm revoking all points. Game is fucking trash, 0 out of 10. I hope it fucking fails now.
He's coming. Alright. Hello? 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 Hi. Are you chasing me? Oh, fuck. I thought I should have been afraid of the giant, but I really should have been afraid of the giant hole you guys left in my heart by betraying me. You should
consider subscribing to the letter K on YouTube.